It is Election Day in 7 states across the country, with voters heading to the polls to select who will represent their parties in the midterms this fall. And as this is happening, let's make one thing perfectly clear about an issue so many have either overstated or ignored. Election fraud is real. It happens. And it often gets prosecuted, as it should. And there's a really big case that just happened with not a single mention on any of the major cable news networks. Yesterday, disgraced former Pennsylvania Democratic Congressman Michael Ozzie Myers pled guilty to charges related to stuffing ballot boxes on behalf of Democratic candidates from 2014 to 2018. Federal prosecutors say Myers targeted his efforts mostly on local judicial candidates who had employed Myers as a political consultant while running for Philadelphia's Court of Common Pleas, or municipal court. They say that Myers admitted to paying a former South Philadelphia judge between $300 to $5,000 per election to stuff ballot boxes on behalf of his chosen candidates, including his clients. Prosecutors also allege that Myers had conspired with another election judge to tell voters on election days who they should vote for, with the now former judge, Dominic DeMuro, even casting fraudulent ballots for people who never made it to the polls. DeMuro pleaded guilty in a separate trial in May of 2020. Prosecutors also claim that Myers had a similar scheme in place with a former judge of elections in Philadelphia. The 79-year-old Myers now faces up to 20 years in prison on the most serious charges. This is serious, important stuff that ought to be highlighted and is somehow being ignored by almost everyone in the media. Holding accountable those who try to cheat our elections is a big deal. It's not Myers' first run-in with the law either. The former lawmaker was kicked out of Congress after he was convicted of bribery and conspiracy in the 1980 scam public corruption sting investigation. We're going to discuss this Pennsylvania case more in a moment with clear and unambiguous facts. But this is not comparable to making sweeping election fraud claims with no real evidence, which can be equally dangerous, like those made by fellow Pennsylvanian and Republican gubernatorial candidate Doug Mastriano, who has consistently made false claims of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. There are real cases of verified election tampering and fraud, and prosecutors are doing their best to bring those election fraudsters to justice. So rather than focusing on the phony claims about election theft in 2020, let's talk about stuff that really happened, cases that are still being uncovered, investigated, prosecuted. And no one's immune. Whether you're a former member of Congress or just a regular Joe who tried to vote on behalf of their kid, sometimes it was Democrats, as the case here, sometimes it was Republicans. Just a few of the recent examples: 2 residents of the Villages, a large retirement community in South Florida, pled guilty to casting more than 1 ballot for former President Donald Trump in the 2020 election. In February, a Michigan nursing home worker pleaded guilty to forging residents' signatures on absentee ballot applications ahead of the 2020 election. Earlier this month, an Arizona Democratic operative pled guilty to illegally collecting ballots, and in some cases even illegally filling out ballots for other voters. Last year, a Pennsylvania man admitted he voted for former President Trump using his dead mom's name, saying that he only did it after listening to too much propaganda about the 2020 election. Then there's the case of the dad who tried to disguise himself in a hat and sunglasses in order to vote for his son at the same polling place he had voted at for himself less than an hour earlier. Look, there have been dozens of voter fraud cases prosecuted since the 2020 election. Prosecutors are working to bring those that do try to break election laws to justice. But on this show, we can both treat election fraud seriously and root out the false claims as well. The facts matter. And to get the facts on this case, we're joined by Adam Klasfeld. Had the lead story on lawandcrime.com, which I founded, about this crazy Myers case out of Pennsylvania. All right, so tell us a little bit more about what happened here and how investigators uncovered his election scam.
So the court record is very interesting on this. The earliest mention that are in the documents that were released in connection with his plea deal show that the FBI interviewed one of the co-conspirators in this, and that was the judge that you mentioned, Judge DeMuro, back in 2016. So we know that this has been a long investigation. We know that they have built a case using consensually recorded phone conversations conversations. These were low turnout elections that in some cases were around 200 voters showing up to the poll station.
So stuffing the ballots can actually impact the outcome.
Absolutely, because these were low turnout races.
When you say stuffing the ballots, we're literally talking about literally just putting in like fake ballots into the...
That is absolutely it. This is not a massive, sophisticated scheme involving foreign actors, some of the wild, outlandish stories we heard after 2020. This was literally a political consultant paying judges anywhere between $300 to $5,000 a pop to tamper with a low turnout race. So this was not very sophisticated.
When you say a pop, not per vote.
Per election.
Right, per election, right, yeah. I was going to say that would get pretty pricey.
That would.
And in terms of how they uncovered this, you're saying that you think that one of the judges, it seems, probably turned or gave them information and it brought them back to this guy?
That's what it appears from the record.
And this is a guy who has been in a lot of trouble before.
Yes, he has. So Representative Myers, ex-Representative Myers, lost his job in the AskHim scandal. That is that's basically the same scandal that inspired the Hollywood blockbuster American Hustle. And he was infamously recorded accepting a $1,000 bribe from an undercover agent and saying money talks and BS walks.
Did he go to prison in connection with? So this is a guy who should have learned his lesson.
Absolutely. This was a repeat offender.
Right. So he was thinking, well, you know, this election fraud business seems like an easier business than the previous business I was in. Wow. It's sort of astonishing. And you've been covering a number of these election fraud cases, right? I mean, there are prosecutions going on across the country.
Absolutely. And we've seen prosecutor's office send out press releases saying that we prosecute the real stuff. And very often, you know, I've received press releases from Michigan, which was a very contentious state after the 2020 election, where the AG's office will say, yes, this stuff happens, and when it happens, we root it out. But it has nothing to do with the outlandish conspiracy theories of the kind that we heard after 2020.
Right, so you can both say election fraud is serious, election fraud is real, and yet it's not the sort of phony election fraud that we heard about that somehow stole the election away.
That's absolutely correct.
Adam Klasfeld, good to see you. Thanks for coming in, appreciate it.
My pleasure, thank you for having me.
Coming up. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.